everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Down to Earth with Harriet Cammock, the show in which we talk about the issues that matter, the issues that seriously matter. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. It's Friday. It's Freaky Friday. It certainly is Freaky Friday, 73. It certainly is Freaky Friday because, and it's bonus, because it is the day right after Halloween. And how many of you freaked out everybody else on the day after Halloween? I know that everyone did, right? Everybody dressed, trick-or-treated, then went home and cuddled up because it was full of candy. So everybody should be on a sugar high today. Everyone should be on a sugar high today. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I certainly appreciate you taking time to be with us on this bright Friday morning. It's the first day in November and the start of the holiday season. So guess who's going to have a banging time, right? Everybody is just ready to go and do what we do because it's the start of the holiday season. I can't believe that we're once again back in the start of the holiday season. It's November. And the holiday season has started. Oh my God. Here we go, people. Here we go. So, it's a sliding scale. So pretty soon it's going to be Thanksgiving in less than 27 days. And then after Thanksgiving, it's going to be my birthday. And then that's how we track it around here. And once it's my birthday, then it becomes Christmas. Then it becomes New Year's Eve. And then it becomes New Year's. And Lord, God help us. God help us all. So I wanted to say good morning because sometimes in the rush of doing what we do, we tend to forget what we do. And this morning's conversation centers around social media. And I wanted to draw the parallels because you're watching me streaming, whether you're streaming me through Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, and you're also listening to me on a podcast. These are all media platforms, what we reference in contemporary language as social media platforms. And it's interesting to me because you are streaming us, and today I want to talk about the impact of social media on politics. And I thought it was apropos because in the last 2 years or so, we've watched this thing unfold. I mean, in the 2016 election, it was alleged that Russia interfered in the elections through the use of Facebook ads and Twitter ads. I'm still laughing at it because it sounds hilarious, because who would have thought that a time like this would have happened where we are actually watching our political leaders in real time. I mean, it used to be just that television was the thing, but now it's social media. So I wanted to talk about that today, and I wanted to get your perspective on what do you think about this social media, the impact of social media on politics. And I don't think that any of us can get away with saying that this doesn't happen simply because it does. I mean, it does, right? And I'm going to take my headphones off, talk to you live as if I'm trying to pretend that we're not using a microphone, right? So just give me a second here while I do that, right? And while we get this together. But think about it. In recent times, we've seen how social media has impacted all our lives. I mean, in today's world, it's not unusual for anybody who has relatives on the other side of the country or even on the other side of the world to communicate with your relatives through social media. I mean, one of the best known platforms out there might be Facebook, right? And people who live in other countries, if you can't use your regular cell phone or your landline phone to call someone, you can always do a Facebook call, right? You can also use what is called WhatsApp, which is another social media platform that allows you to communicate with your relatives in other parts of the world. You can also use Facebook to post pictures so that family and friends who perhaps are not living in the same area where you are, they can see and keep up with your lives in real time. So it's the first day of school for little Johnny, who is now, going to school for the first time. So his grandparents who live in another state can keep up with little Johnny because they might not live within a reasonable commute distance of where little Johnny lives. Well, such is the case with politics as well. Our political leaders have people around them who are social media savvy and who are significantly media savvy, and for whom they can now, hi, grand risings, right? Much love to you too. Thank you, right? And so they can now communicate with us directly. So our political leaders, if they feel like it, they can have a Facebook live chat. I participated in a Facebook live forum a couple nights ago in which people talked about human trafficking and the legalization of prostitution. Would you like me to talk about the legalization of prostitution? Sometimes I bet you would, right? You would be curious to know what I think about it. But in real time, our political leaders, are able to communicate with us about the issues that matter. Isn't that true, right? And they can talk to their public and make it real time. So it's almost like, so if you go on Facebook and you see your favorite political leader just saying, hey, how you doing? You're going to say, I love that person. Oh, he rocks or she rocks. I mean, just look at that. You're completely geeked out because now they're not just figures or icons far removed from your everyday experience. I mean, through social media, I have become aware of people, and you feel as if you see their faces every day. You feel as if you know them. Recently, a couple days ago, I was in Flint, and I got a chance to sit with the mayor of Flint, someone whom I've seen all across media, traditional media and social media. And seeing her in person, I felt like I knew her. I was so geeked out, by the way, because she's one of my sheroes. She's one of the persons whom I really admire as a leader, right? I don't care about her politics, but she's admirable for standing tall in the face of great adversity, right? And so when you look at how social media has impacted the delivery of politicians' message, anyone who is in politics who does not recognize that is totally missing out. It's amazing to me as I go throughout the country where people have disparaging comments to make about social media. There are some people who say, I will never get on the Facebook. There are some people who say, I will never do Twitter. And there's some people who say, I don't even know what Instagram is. That's something my grandkids use. And I'm like, you are so far removed from everyday happenings. I have a friend who refuses to get on social media. I'm like, you are so completely lost. I can't communicate with you because she's one of those traditional persons who would rather meet in person kind of thing. And I'm like, I could, she will email you forever. So she's one of those who send you those chain emails, the annoying ones that you and I don't bother to read. So I will see an email from her and I'll just call and say, what's this about? Or I will text because I'm like, I don't have time to read your chain emails, right? Because she does not use social media. Social media is a great tool to get your message across if you're a politician, but it can also be used negatively. Social media can also be used negatively, as we saw recently in the case of Katie Hill. What happened with her was revenge porn. Her ex-husband, whom she's now divorcing, took advantage of what used to be an intimate time in their lives and is now using it to create revenge porn, something that she thought was confined to their couplehood and something she thought that was uniquely part of their relationship. He's using that now to gain a foothold to get back at her because she left him. That is social media. That's how powerful social media is. Social media is also powerful because it is alleged that the bots and trolls that trolled the 2016 elections were also responsible for directing and conveying misinformation. Social media is a powerful tool. You better know how to use it, right? And so as we look across the spectrum. Hey, good morning, Gavison. How are you? As we look across the spectrum, we have to wonder what is likely to happen in 2020. because now 2016 is now almost 4 years ago. I am pretty sure that the technology has changed in terms of what they're able to filter and what they're able to bring out. So my question is, can you just imagine what 2020 is going to be like? It's going to be rough. It's going to be gloves completely off. It's going to be like a pair of Rottweilers in a pen trying to gain a foothold in political spheres, right? And I wanted to, it's huge. It's going to be huge. Yeah, it's going to be huge for whoever is running for the people running for president, right? And I wanted to talk about it because it's amazing to me, because for the reason that I don't think most of us are taking advantage of social media. If politicians are successfully using it to convey their message, why are the rest of us not using it? Now, I know they spend millions of dollars. That is true. They do spend a lot of money. They do spend a whole lot of money trying to figure out how much they spend a lot of money in having people manage it, because they have the resources to do that. But they also have found ways that people can access voter rolls, access what people view the most, right? Though that information comes back and they're able to create a message around that. So they know who is their target audience. But through social media, they're able to direct their message specifically to the people who are most likely to land them a vote. Did you know that, right? It's called targeted audience, right? It's targeted marketing. So they're able to pinpoint specifically the people who are most likely, most inclined. So if you don't believe me, go into your Facebook page. Everybody has a Facebook, even if you haven't used it in a while, because they're like, Facebook sells your information. It's not just Facebook that has your information. Google has your information. Recently, they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be verified on Google. And I was like, okay, so go view it. And in order for them to, part of the verification process was they wanted to make sure I am me. Now, by the time they asked me that, I knew that they knew I am me, right? So when they asked for my government ID and to take a picture of myself with my government ID, I didn't question, how do you know that it's me holding my government ID? I didn't, because by that time I knew. I know that they know what I search for, right? What topics I look for. What do I use search engines for? What pictures I look at. So they already know. So it didn't, most people would be, oh my God, you're taking a photo of your government ID, sending it to Google. And I'm like, they must have a system for verifying that I am me. So I'm not going to worry about it. They already know. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? And that is power. Years ago, I became part of a class action suit because Google was employing people in China to make photocopies of every book that they know of that is out there. So my book, Musings of the Spirit, became part of that class action lawsuit because they were photocopying pages of it. And the people who got together to sue Google wrote to me and said, your book is up there too. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. I didn't put my book up there. At the time, Google Books was not even a thing when I published it. So I don't know that I sold the rights to them, right? So I became part of that. So I know that they know. And they have captured, the images are captured. So if you were to look me up on Google, for instance, and you were to go into Google and type in Harriet Cammock and type my name in, you're going to see my title as author, and you're going to see the images of my books there. And it's going to ask you to follow me. So make sure you do that as well. And then it's going to tell you who I am and what I do. And then it's going to show you more images. Do you see how powerful social media is? So my name is already written in the pages of history because I'm digitally captured. So now, if you were to go, so we don't need an Encyclopedia Britannica. Anybody remembers that? I just gave it away, right? Because when I was growing up, to do research in a library involved going to the library and looking for the encyclopedia with the first initial of the subject that you want, the first initial of the last name of the subject you're looking up, so that they could pull it from that reference edition. So you would be surrounded by tons of books. Because I'm a writer and a reader, that just fascinated me. I loved books. Today, I just typed in Google Harriet, Harriet Cammock, Cammock, host of Down to Earth podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and so on. Author, speaker, I kid you not, executive director of the Exodus Foundation. It is amazing. I am saying that if we're going to use social media, use it for good. Use it to advance a cause, use it to create a message, use it to direct people to what is good and what is keeping, right? Don't just use social media to create negativity. Use it for good. Anybody who has ever had a YouTube page or been on YouTube can agree to the fact that young people, especially nowadays, teens who are going to, before they kill themselves, they create a YouTube page and they put up a message that says what they're going to do and why they're doing it and who is responsible. Powerful. My thing is, if you're going to go that far and do it before you die, you might as well live and just put the message out there. I almost killed myself because so-and-so and a group of people said so-and-so about me. You don't have to kill yourself for them to be held accountable. You can say it, and that is enough for us, to the rest of us, to know we need to go after them. In the same way, politicians get their message across by delivering it to their target audience and by ensuring that the people whom they want to hear, the people who are most likely to listen to their message or to vote for them or who are most likely to side with them, get the message. Social media is a powerful tool. Use it wisely. I think everybody should be able to use it wisely, don't you think? Right. So in the case of Katie Hill, who recently had to resign from Congress. I mean, people had even begun a movement to say it won't. It's crazy. But now that I have you here, I wanted to bring this to your attention. Twitter announced that it is going to put a ban on political ads during the election season. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that that's something that is going to impact the candidate's message? Because after all, there are millions and millions of people on Twitter. On Facebook, there are at least 2 billion people around the world on Facebook. Most people start out by having a Facebook account. Some people have a Twitter account that they probably just opened. And I've now seen people on Snapchat who shouldn't be on Snapchat, but they're out there. Right? I kid you not. And I'm like, why are you trolling Snapchat? Are you looking for young women? Are you looking for kids on Snapchat? I don't know what you're doing on here, right? But so Twitter announced that it was going to place a ban on political ads. And I'm like, in response to Facebook, who said that instead of putting a ban on political ads, what they're not going to censor the ad. They're not going to fact check the ad. So if a politician decides to put out an ad that says the sky rains red every Thursday, Facebook is not going to fact check that. They're going to take the candidate's money and they're going to run the ad if the candidate says the sky rains red every day. Twitter says, we're just not going to do that, period. So Facebook is after the money and the profit. And Twitter is like, we're just not going to do that, period. We don't want to be engaged in that. We're not going to do that. Do you see what I'm saying? And when you look at it, you have to say, well, is Jack Dorsey trying to stand up for something? Or is he trying to stand away from Facebook? Not necessarily. He could just be doing it because it just doesn't suit him. Because after all, he did raise the character limit on Twitter from 140 characters. So the rest of us now can tweet all we want and get to say what you want, and everybody has an opinion and you feel like you get to say it. I personally think that's going to have a significant impact on politics, on the next election. Because now, when I go on Twitter, for instance, when you set up Twitter, you set up your preferences, what you want to hear most of. You want to hear you want to hear about politics, you want to hear about entertainment, sports, blah, 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 trending subjects, and blah, blah, blah. just like you do. I know Gavinson over here, I know that you have a Twitter page, right? I know you have, because you're all watching me through Twitter and Periscope, right? So you get to choose your preferences. Well, I get what I call, it occurred to me the other day that I'm being targeted. I mean, I get some weird stuff on my Twitter page, stuff that comes to me, all kinds of negative, and I'm like, it occurred to me, I said, gee, I'm really getting some stuff here that I probably would just scroll through quickly and say, I'm not interested, or, you just keep it moving. But do you see what I'm saying? So for the fact that Twitter is not going to do political ads is huge for the 2020 elections. I don't know if they're going to change their mind. I know Facebook is not going to change his mind because he's looking at the money. Because guess what? There are more people on Facebook than there are on Twitter. Twitter is kind of sophisticated. Twitter is for those of us. Twitter is those of us who, I'm not going to say it, right? But and I'm not being discriminatory. I'm just saying Twitter is kind of like the upper echelon of the society, of social media. Let's put it that way, right? The high end of social media. But everybody has a Facebook because Facebook has a platform that you can store pictures and stories and so on, so people can see stuff in real time. And I don't know if it's because Facebook became a tool for families and friends to share their stories. I know that I reconnected with people from high school, just like you, from high school through Facebook. Wasn't that cool? So you're still in touch. You're able to see who is doing, people are here and they're doing well and so on. Whereas with Twitter, you follow the stories that you're interested in. People follow you based on your interest. So now when you look at it, if you quantify how big of an impact is Twitter going to have? Twitter is very influential. That's where all the journalists are. That's where all the policymakers are. So your opinion is quite influential. So if you start tweeting that you don't like this, or you don't like that, or you don't like when that candidate said this, or you don't like, guess what? Chances are somebody is going to follow you. And that opinion is going to be stored by your representative. They're going to see it. And especially if you attach them to the conversation. So Twitter not doing political ads is going to have a huge impact. That means politicians who are trying to get to voters, trying to get to people's minds and opinions for 2020, there's one social media platform they're not going to have access to. And that could be that is going to be an issue moving forward. Now, they're going to say that they're going to run political ads on TV. That's where mom and pop sit before their TV every day. Retired folks vote more than anybody else because they have more time. And that's another thing. They probably need to make voting more accessible to people's schedules. People have to make special arrangements to go to vote. Maybe it's time for them to do more absentee voting, right? So people can actually, be part of the process and you don't have to take time off from work. Or better yet, Election Day should be a national holiday. It should be a holiday. November 6th, it's a national holiday. Get up and go out and vote kind of thing. Instead of you have to work around it, you have to drop the kids off, have somebody else pick up the kids. So what if the day and time will come when you can vote through your Facebook page or through your Twitter page? That day and time will come. You do realize that. That day and time will eventually come. Because if conveying a message through social media platforms is so important that candidates are willing to put their money on it, eventually people are going to say, well, I can just tell you who I'm going to vote for right now. In fact, Twitter and Facebook carry a lot of weight in people's opinions. They can tell. Politicians glean this data. They're data miners. They look at what people comment on, what people are saying, what people say, what images they're looking at, what stories are they reading, and they glean that data. And they glean that data and use that data to create policies and to respond to criticism. It's just like I look at the Katie Hill story, for example. That's a perfect example of social media having power on the electoral process. Because now that she's removed from power, there's going to be a runoff in her seat that most likely the Republican incumbent is going to get the seat. had it not been for social media, her husband would never have practiced revenge porn, because the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Chicago Sun, none of those traditional media outlets would have published the photos of her. CNN, NBC, ABC, they would have never published the photos of her nakedness. But the power of social media impacted that election and impacted that congresswoman's ability to stay in office, because her husband had access to social media platforms that he uploaded personal images, pictures that were intimate, that were shared between both of them. And because he doesn't like it now that she says, I don't want to be married to you, so he thinks he's dragging her down. So she's going to go back home and she's going to call him and be with him. No, she's not. She's going to go on and live her life, and to heck with him. And they're going to find something else for her to do, because it wasn't fair. Right? It was not fair what was done. I think women in power should be held to the same standards as men. A man in power has an affair and life goes on. He has an affair with his campaign staffer. He has an affair with the girl who cleans the room, and nothing happens. So a woman in power should be treated with the same. She's just a woman. She has feelings too. Just like a man is just a man who has feelings. Sometimes in some areas we need to level the playing field, right? So when moving forward, you begin to understand that if the candidates who are running in the next election can't get their message through on Twitter, I am sorry for those of us with a Facebook page. We are going to be inundated with messages. We're going to be swamped. You won't even be able to see on your timeline your friends' posts. Right now, it's difficult to peruse your timeline on Facebook, because Facebook uses certain algorithms. So you think you are seeing all 5,000 of your friends, and you're not. They're not seeing what you're posting, because Facebook changes the algorithm to match what they want to propagate. So they're being paid by people to send a message out. That's what they're propagating. They're not interested in you checking in with your friends, or you telling your friends, showing pictures of little Johnny just, went for his first tennis lesson today. Look at him. They're not interested in that. What Facebook wants to do is to promote messages. So social media then, Facebook then, has become a media. It has moved itself and now sees itself as a major force in the electoral process and in the electioneering process. Go figure. Yes, they have. Because now they're charging a fee for you to place an ad, but they're also helping you deliver the message. They're flooding people's timelines with these messages. If you don't believe me, go to your Facebook page and go in your settings, and then go into your preferences and see what Facebook thinks about you. I did it about 1.5 years ago, and I was shocked 2 years ago. I'm like, you consider me like that? Because these are the stories that I read. I read stories of interest. So they already have you and your demographic down pat. Data mining. So they have taken that information and sold it to data miners so that they can create messages specifically targeted to you. Hello, somebody. Hey, how you feel about that? I know you feel some sort of way about that, don't you? Think about it. Do you want your timeline to be flooded with messages about that? No, you don't. You want to see your friends' posts. Maybe occasionally you get something, but if that is the case, then we all should communicate with our elected representatives by using what I call the same medium that they promote their messages through.